Everyone, and welcome to part 2 of our E3 2016 special. In this video we're going to talk about what we'd like to see or what we'd expect to see from a wide variety of developers that will be at the show. Joining me as always is Greg Smith.
That's me, and of course joining me and Kev as always is Chris, the magician McDonald.
Yep.
And he's very happy about that. So what trick are you going to give us today, Chris?
I maybe pull some predictions out of the bag.
Wow, can't wait.
So to begin then, we'll talk about a game that's been rumoured for a long time, and even this week there's been further rumours with apparent casting leaks, is Devil May Cry 5. So at a convention, Ruben Langdon and a few of the other cast members said that the franchise was coming back, that the old cast would be returning, and that it would be in development beginning this year. We also know that Capcom's been really gauging interest on the franchise, seeing what fans think by re-releasing Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition and DMC. What we do know is apparently Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition sold fairly well and that Capcom was happy with those numbers. So what do you expect to see for Devil May Cry 5 at E3?
I don't know what I'd expect. One thing that is interesting to note though is that even when Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition was coming out, Itsuno was actually saying he'd like to do a Devil May Cry 5. It just depends if Capcom are up for it. And Capcom being happy with the numbers for Devil May Cry 4, like the re-release, regardless of where those numbers are at, Capcom being happy with them, I think means a lot. Because Capcom to be happy with numbers of any game, those guys are crazy when it comes to like expectations versus reality. So for them to be happy for something says a lot. So if they're happy, I'd be amazed if they didn't decide to power ahead with that. And Itsuno is definitely all for it. I mean, it'd be nice if it got outsourced for Kamiya to work on. It'd be lovely to see like that return, but Itsuno, did great with Devil May Cry 3, and it wasn't without its missteps, but Devil May Cry 4 was still solid in most respects, so I'd still be happy to see Itsuno be the one to do Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a lot of the time when I see Devil May Cry being mentioned, it seems that the only thing people want is for it to be Kamiya and Platinum that work on it, but personally I don't have a problem if it's the crew that made 3 and 4, because some people seem to forget it, but Capcom actually did take Devil May Cry further in the heights of quality than Kamiya ever actually did originally. They did expand on what he'd done. So personally I'd like to see them get another go at it as well. Another one for Capcom that we haven't seen in a while is Mega Man. What do you think will happen there?
I don't know if we're going to see something at E3, but there's definitely something happening with that franchise. Capcom, I mean, there's been a lot of expectations and wants. Capcom definitely have something going on with it. I mean, we've heard loads of rumours, we've heard so much, but they definitely have something going on. They definitely have been considering what they want to do with it. The Legacy Collection went down really well. I just don't know what their plan is going to be. I think whatever they push ahead with is going to be something in the classic range. It is going to be seeing, classic Mega Man, Dr. Wily, that sort of era. Personally, I would love to see them push ahead with more new, because the franchise did end off, it did kind of get cut off in a place where we had these 3 series that sort of weren't resolved. But that's not what people are kind of wanting to see a return of at this point, and I don't think that's what Capcom are considering most marketable or what they're going to push ahead with. So I don't know what we're going to see, if we're going to see anything, but if we do, it will definitely be something in the classic range. I think they're going to definitely try to hold to the roots of what the game is, but I don't know if it's going to be full on, like 9 and 10 were, or if it's going to try to be more like a 2.5D game.
I guess we'll see. Greg, a franchise I know that you love from Capcom is Dead Rising. What do you think's happening there? Do you think we'll see it at E3?
Well, the rumors are, yeah. I mean, I've heard we will see it at E3. There has been a leak of a possible poster of the game that has Frank, Frank West from the first game on it, and apparently it's meant to be in Willamette. Again, where the first game is set. Whether that's going to be in the mall is a completely different story. But what we're hearing right now is that it is possibly a remake of the first game. But then, if that's true, why call it Dead Rising 4? Instead of just Dead Rising, just have the same title. Certainly, the other question with that as well is if we're going to get it on multi-platform. We've not had a multi-platform Dead Rising game since the second one, where we had Dead Rising 2, and then we had Dead Rising 2 off the record with Frank just replaced Chuck Green, and it was kind of a non-canon version of the game, more silly stuff involved. Again, certainly with this game, they've listened to the fans who wanted Frank back, and it looks like he is going to be the main protagonist for this new one. So certainly we just have to wait and see what happens. But I'm excited because I never really got the chance to play Dead Rising 3 because I'm a PlayStation owner, and frankly I don't want to buy a console for one game. As much as I love that franchise, I don't want to get that console just for that alone. So certainly I'd be very happy if it did come out on both consoles and then the PC as well, obviously. But I don't know whether the third game itself did well enough to merit another exclusive for the Xbox. But I mean, I personally hope it is on the PS4, just because I really want to play a Dead Rising game, and if it's got Frank in it, if it is a possible remake, then I'm all over that like a rash. So I genuinely can't wait. That's what, apart from Resident Evil with Capcom, I say I'm most excited about that. Devil May Cry, of course, I'm excited to see what they do, but Dead Rising, I'm very intrigued just because I love the first game so much. It's so good. Second game is awesome, but the first game is up there for me. So certainly I can't wait to see what happens with that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be fun to see where they take that if it is to return. Moving over to Warner Brothers, we just had an Injustice 2 trailer just this week. What did you guys think?
It's interesting. It's got that whole... I mean, we're having to work out gameplay from, a set trailer that's showing none, but the whole transformation thing where it's got them equipping, like, armors and changing, I do think that's going to lead to a style change within the actual combat. I don't know if that means they're going to approach it the way Street Fighter 5 did, where it's a temporary transformation that opens up abilities to you that you don't usually have, or whether that's going to be somewhat akin to what they did with Mortal Kombat X, where they have these 3 different fighting styles. But I think if they do go that direction, rather than be like Mortal Kombat X, where you can't just switch between them in the fight, you have to commit to one before the fight, I do think it will be a transformation you're able to do within the fight. I just don't know if it will be you can transform your fighting abilities at any time, or if you're limited to transforming only when you've built up bar or meter or such like.
Yeah, I mean, again, I didn't own the first game, but I did play it enough, and I played a lot of the Ultimate Edition as well. And to be honest, even if we get more of the same of the first game, I'd be happy with that. They don't need to really try and recreate anything in particular. New powers, new segments. Obviously, we've already seen a new character in Supergirl. So things like that would happily amuse me and keep me intrigued going forward. But really, the first game I thought was a really good example of what they were trying to do. So really, if they just go back to that and just give us more of the same, I'm pretty happy. I'd be happy with that, really.
Yeah, same here. I think that the foundation they set with the first game was a good foundation, so they just need to build on that. Speaking of sequels then and building on foundations, we'll move over to Bethesda with The Evil Within 2. Do you think that that's something we'll see at E3?
I think there's a good chance of it. Bethesda, with the first game, were very eager to make clear how much they're backing this horse and wanted people to know they were definitely committed to it as a franchise. And even just E3 gone, as the previous year, although there was no Evil Within news, when they had their Bethesda logo, they were very happy to have Evil Within be one of the games that was making that, you know, loop around the logo. So they definitely want people to know that they are back behind that franchise. I think there's a strong chance we'll see Evil Within 2. It'll be interesting to see.
To be honest as well, though, I mean, there's no reason for them to abandon Evil Within franchise. First game done well enough, and there was a successful DLC to follow it as well. And it was more. I mean, it had the original director of Resident Evil behind it, so obviously fans are going to be interested in that. He's most likely not going to return for a sequel, but again, his foundation was there, and they'll build upon that. To me personally, I would like more horror. I know, like, it was to begin with, the game started off really horrific, and it reminded us of kind of Resident Evil 4 style, but then it just kind of went into Resident Evil 5, more actiony, and there was less survival horror elements to it as such. There was less kind of scares. You weren't stressing out. There was less. I can't remember exactly the bit, but there was the one scene where the main kind of boss character was chasing you around, and if he touched you, that was it. Like, that was one of the most intense parts of the original game, and I would like to see something similar to that pop up, something more atmospheric. Like, certain sections in that game were great. Something to adapt that and expand it, and possibly have more of the game like that than what the game finished like, because it was all in daylight, and it kind of took a lot of the horror elements away from that, and it did just turn into kind of an action Resident Evil 6 type of game, which again isn't terrible, but when you first played that game and it just completely changed in the second half. It did remind me of the first Resident Evil Revelations game, where it kind of sold you on one part of the game, and then it just kind of kept throwing you in between different segments, which were completely different. So, again, that's something I'll be looking out for, and I'm really interested for that game. And we all played the game together, and we did enjoy it, but we were just left wanting more. So hopefully this is the more that we wanted, and you know, they can kind of make up for what they promised us in the first place with the survival horror, but we'll see what happens.
Another game that I expect to see a sequel for was Wolfenstein: The New Order, which came out a couple of years ago. Bethesda's really trying to revive a lot of the classic first-person shooters, as we just saw recently with Doom, that came back and had a successful release with a great reception. Wolfenstein, they'd successfully done it a couple of years ago, so I expect them to continue to expand on that. Do you think there will be any surprises from Bethesda at E3?
You know what I would say, and I don't even know if this would happen, but I think it would be awesome, and instead of a sequel, a direct sequel to that game, they'd done a remake of Return to Castle Wolfenstein with the engines that we have today in the graph. I think that would be awesome. I'd be behind that like 100%. I don't know if they would do that, because that would be pure fan service, to be fair, but that'd be something to get excited about anyway.
Yeah, and as far as surprises go, I definitely think we'll see something. I'm not sure if it would be like totally unexpected, but something that we haven't heard about, and something that's probably further along than people would anticipate, because that made waves E3 last year when they announced Fallout 4 practically ready to go. Like, people weren't expecting that, and people will come out of E3, you know, with it almost like a hype, but an almost, I'm trying to think of the word, but there's sort of this dissatisfaction of how long you have to wait, and Bethesda really like won E3 last year in most people's eyes, because, you know, they came out and they've got a game ready to go, like practically right after E3, and I think they know how much that really impressed people, and I think they're probably going to try to repeat that to some extent as best they can. I just don't know if they'll have something as prepared as they did Fallout 4 last year, because that was obviously years in the planning to reveal that ready to go.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be exciting to see. There are a few candidates for that. There have been rumours that they're looking to revive Quake, so maybe that will be the game.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be really cool. So I guess we'll see. There's also Dishonored 2 that Bethesda's making, so we might see more of that as well. But there you have it. That was our thoughts on what we expect to come from E3 2016, or what we would even like to see. As always, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.